Okay, we're continuing in the book of Genesis. This week's Torah portion is Vayeishev, and this coming Thursday night we'll be starting the holiday of Hanukkah. So there's a tradition, we all know, there's a tradition to play the game of dreidel on Hanukkah. And so we have a little spinning top, it has 4 sides on it, and each side has a Hebrew letter. And if you're playing with Hanukkah gelt, or you're playing with chocolate, or you're playing with raisins, doesn't matter. Wherever the dreidel stops, whatever it lands on, then that letter indicates what you have to do. So if you spin the dreidel and you get a letter Gimel, then you take everything that's in the middle of the pile. If you spin the dreidel and it comes out as a Nun, you get nothing. And if you spin the dreidel and it lands on the letter Shin, then you have to put one of your coins or your chocolate or whatever it is that you're playing with, you have to put that into the pile. And I would like to suggest, as we enter into the holiday of Hanukkah, that this is a way to understand life, that life is like a dreidel. And when we spin and we play the game of life, when we have our story and we're the protagonists in our story, that sometimes we live through Gimels where things are good and things are great and we have everything and we feel, you know, like we're winning. And then sometimes we have times where it's like a Nun, where we feel like we have nothing, and times where we feel like it's a Shin, where we have to give everything, we have to keep giving, and we're getting drained and we're giving up everything that we have. And so if we take that analogy and we apply it to this week's Torah portion, so in this week's Torah portion, Jacob, our forefather, has left the house of Lavan with his wives and all his entourage, his wealth, all his children, and last week we spoke about his meeting up with his brother Esau and then separating from Esau, and now he's coming and he's settling. It says Vayeishev, and he's settled. And that is not the way of the world. The world isn't settled. We're not settled. We're always moving, we're always changing, always growing. There's always something that's happening. And Jacob learns that very quickly, that his life is not going to be tranquil, even though he's been through a lot, and he had to flee the house of his father, and he had to go to the house of Lavan and marry Leah before he married Rachel, and we've talked about that. So it wasn't an easy life that Jacob has had. Now he's coming, he wants to settle, and it's not going to be a settled life. His children are jealous of Joseph, the son that Jacob has with his beloved wife Rachel, that there's hatred amongst the brothers towards Joseph. And so all of that is spoken about in this week's Torah portion, the animosity between the brothers. And at one point in the story, the beginning of the story, Jacob says to Joseph, go and find your brothers. They're shepherding. They're taking care of the flocks. Go check on your brothers. Go check on their flocks. Go see what's going on. Go find where they are and what they're doing. And so Joseph goes and he's looking for his brothers. He can't find them. He's a little bit lost, and he's in a field. And in the field there's a man. All of a sudden there's a man. And the man, we understand from our sages, is the angel Gabriel, the angel Gabriel. So this angel is sent by God on a mission, and the mission is to direct Joseph towards his brothers, to set the wheels in motion for Joseph to meet up with his brothers. That this angel is there as almost like a director of Jewish history, to say, Joseph, you have to go that way. And Joseph interacts with this angel, and the angel says, where are you going? And isn't that a question for us in our day? Where are we going? What is it that we're looking for? What is it that we want? And the angel poses this question to Joseph, and he says, Joseph, where are you going? What are you looking for? And Joseph answers, I'm looking for my brothers. I'm looking for brotherhood, for companionship. I'm looking for love. I'm looking for light. However you want to answer that question. And because of his listening to this angel, he meets up with his brothers, and it unfolds in the story of him getting thrown into the pit and getting sold to the Midianites, to the Ishmaelites, and going down to Egypt. This is the beginning of that unfolding of that story. And what we can learn from this is that there are angels in our lives. There are people and events that happen in our lives that are God sent, that make things happen, that make things set things in a certain direction that we don't necessarily always recognize as happening. Sometimes we do when we look back. Sometimes we might recognize it at the time. This person is here to direct me. Sometimes it feels good, sometimes it doesn't feel good, but there's a sense that we learn from this encounter of Joseph with the angel, that God is directing things, that there's a God behind the scenes, God orchestrating things in a certain way. And certainly Joseph understands this later in the day when he becomes viceroy of Egypt and he's dispensing all the wealth and all the food to the famine and to all the people coming to him for famine, that he recognizes God, this was God's plan all along. But this angel directs that. And perhaps we can see that in our own lives where we took a twist or we took a turn or something happened. It's not fate. So things happen for a reason. There's meaning in the things that happen to us. So let's go back to the analogy of the dreidel and the spinning of this dreidel and it landing and the different things. And so it's orchestrated. It's going to land gimel here. It's going to land hey there. It's going to be a nun here. It's going to be a shin there. So if you look at Joseph's life it's gimels. He's the beloved son of his father Jacob and wife and his mother Rachel. He's beloved. And then he has perhaps a shin where the brothers are jealous of him and they want to sell him. They want to throw him into a pit and they sell him and he goes down to slavery into Egypt. And then he rises up in the house of Potiphar and he becomes a leader. He becomes, well, maybe not leader, but he becomes well off. He's doing well. And maybe now he's back into a phase of gimel in his life. And then he has this encounter with Potiphar's wife where she seduces him over and over and over again. It says in the Medrash that he is seduced by Potiphar's wife every day for like a year. And he doesn't succumb. And then it comes to the point where one day he's going in and the backstory is that it's very hard for him to keep not being seduced by Potiphar's wife. And at that point, on this fateful day, he has to muster up all the resources not to succumb to the seductions of Potiphar's wife. And it says that he refuses her and he runs outside. This word refuses, when it's read in the Torah on the synagogue, it's read with a certain trope. It's read with a certain song. And the song is the note that it's sung by is called a shalsheles. It's called a chain. It's a very long note, but it's a very rare note that's sung in the Torah. And the idea of a shalsheles is a chain. It's a chain. And when Joseph, what is it that Joseph's drawing on to refuse the overtures of Potiphar's wife? He's drawing on the fact that he is part of a chain. He's part of the Jewish people. He came from Jacob and Isaac and Abraham and Sarah and Rivka and Rachel, and he's going somewhere. He's part of a chain. Aren't we also part of a chain? How much do we recognize that we're part of the chain of the Jewish people? And every single one of us is a link in that chain, and every one of us has a responsibility to be that chain and not to give up. And Joseph recognizes that in that moment where he's almost like going to give in to Potiphar's wife, and it's like, no, I have to know I'm a shalsheles, I'm a chain, I'm a link in this chain. And the other midrash that we pull on to understand where it was that Joseph got the strength to resist and to hold strong and to keep strong to his convictions is that he looks into the window and he sees an image of his father. So his father, Jacob, who was told or led to believe that Joseph had been devoured by wild animals, has never given up hope that Joseph is still alive. It says that he refuses to mourn for his son. He still believes and still has an idea that Joseph is still alive, and he has faith in Joseph, that wherever Joseph is, he's managing, he's holding on. And when Joseph sees a picture of his father, an image of his father in his mind, in the window, whatever, that he's drawing on the expectations that his father has of him, that he can do this, he can hold fast. So who is it in our lives that believes in us? Is it our parents? Is it our children? Is it our partners, our friends, our teachers, whoever it is, our mentors, whoever it is in our lives? We need those people who believe in us, who when the going gets tough, we can say, this person believes in me. And most importantly, every morning there's a prayer we say when we get up, Moda Ani, that we wake up, thank you for giving me my life, God, because I recognize that you, God, have faith in me, that you know that I can overcome, I can prevail, I can struggle, that I can find the strength, that God has faith in us. So when Joseph is resisting the advances of Potiphar's wife, he's recognizing himself as a link in the chain. So too can we see ourselves as a link in the chain. and he draws on faithfulness that God has in him, faithfulness that his Father has in him, and then ultimately the faith that he has in himself. And we can also draw on those strengths and those faithfulnesses that are in our lives. We have God, we have, please God, we have people around us who support us and have faith in us and believe in us, and somewhere deep down, strength-wise, we have the faith in ourselves that we can do this. So here we are, we're entering into the dark period of the winter, into the dark period of the pandemic. Hanukkah's coming, and Hanukkah is the story of the dreidel, and the game keeps getting played. We're in this world, thank God we're in this world, and we're struggling, but life is a life of struggle, and in those struggles we can choose how we respond, how we think, what it is that we want to become, and we can draw on the fact that we're part of a chain of the Jewish people that comes from a people that, like Yisrael, with the Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, we struggle and we overcome, and that God is with us, God has faith in us, that other people, please God, have faith in us, that we have faith in ourselves, and that we will continue to play this game, we'll continue to struggle, we'll continue to grow, because struggle is where we get our strength to know who it is that we are and what we can bring out. So as we continue to do that in the darkness of this period, that we will shine light out in the world. So let's continue to do that. Let's hold hands, let's so to speak dance in a circle, let's spin that dreidel, let's have a vision that it will land on gimels, but if it lands on a hay, or it lands on a nun, or it lands on a shin, that we'll keep going, we'll keep prevailing, and we'll keep persevering, because we have faith in ourselves. We know that God has faith in us, we know that other people have faith in us, and we know that we're part of a chain, and we know that in the end we will prevail. Wishing you all a light-filled, inspirational Hanukkah.